what I want to start by doing is, first of all, just checking that I share things and you can all see them. So hopefully you can see that. Yes? Thumbs up. Yeah, excellent. I want tonight to cover 3 questions that I think we all need to ask if we want to improve recruitment. How do we know what our guests want? When should we start recruiting? And where can, and perhaps most importantly, where can we find help? Because one message I want to send out tonight is that you're not alone in your clubs. There are lots of people around that can help and support you, and I want to get that message out to you tonight, because that is so important. Now, I'm going to start with the first question. How do we know what our guests want? So, in true Toastmasters fashion, I'm going to tell you a story. I'm going to start off by telling you a story. So I hope you're all sitting comfortably. Approximately 7 years ago to the day, so the second Thursday in November, 7 years ago, I decided to pluck up the courage and go to my local Toastmasters club. It wasn't necessarily for work, because I've retired and I was in my last year of work then. I just wanted, because I was looking around for something that would be interesting to do and that I thought I needed help with. And I heard a little bit about Toastmasters. I'd read about it in a book. I'd Googled it, and I found my local Toastmasters. Now, as I say, on that night, probably just about this time, I entered the People Centre, which is in the centre of Leicester. My club is Leicester Leaders. And I was a little nervous, I must admit. And I walked in. The reception staff pointed me to where the meeting was going to be, and I went there, and people were friendly, and they chatted to me. And I remember quite distinctly one of the speakers, and he's still a member, Irfan. And I thought, well, what a fantastic speech. And I can still remember it now. It was about when he took his daughter to the restaurant and all the sort of antics she got up to, playing around and causing hassle. So I can remember that speech from 7 years ago. It was that good. So I thought, I've got to join this organisation. They're friendly. If this is the quality I can aspire to, that would be great. And the VP membership, Pushpa, she came up to me, gave me an application form, told me all about it. And I went off thinking, yeah, I could see myself here. And the venue wasn't brilliant and it was hard to get to, but you know, that wasn't a problem. And anyway, we moved after that to another venue. And that was my first experience of Toastmasters. Now, my story is probably very different to yours. You probably joined Toastmasters for very different reasons to me. It could be a job, it could be a promotion, it could be that you want to become more active in your community or an organization or a faith group, whatever. So that was my story. And for me, it was the welcome I received and also some of the quality of the speakers. Now, what I want to do, and you will need either a mobile phone or an iPad or a tablet, anything that can take a picture, because I'm going to use something called Menti. Now, hopefully some of you have seen this before. Right, now you should see, sorry. There we go. You should see on your screen either a QR code, and you can take a picture of that, and it will go to your search engine and it will take you to Menti. Or you can go put in your browser www.menti.com, and then when you get to the site, put that code in, 25900915. Is that okay with everybody? You'll have to shout out because I can only see 3 people on my gallery.
It's come up with create your own presentation in mentimeter.com. Is that right?
It should have come up. Let me just try it. It should say opening your browser and then instructions. Yeah, that's it. Have you got instructions and a little purple heart?
Yes.
Yeah, and you're on the right page.
So what do I do? Push on the heart?
Just wait for a minute.
Yeah.
Is everybody okay and on that page? Excellent. So there's the best response I've ever had doing this. So now you should see a question. You should see a picture that's on the screen and then a question. Why did you join your first club? What was it about your first club? Okay, and you can submit up to 5 words, and I'm going to give you a minute to do that. So we'll set the countdown. So what was it? Think about your first encounter with Toastmasters. What pulled you in? And when you've done your 5, if you just then click submit. Wow, brilliant. It works. Hurrah. Encouraging, absolutely. Fun. Handshakes. Improve your presentation skill. Yeah. Relax in front of improvement. Yeah. Safe. That's a good one. I went to an open evening once at a local club near me, and there were some ladies who came to that, and it was outside the town, and I'd never thought of this before, but they said how safe they felt coming to the meeting, physically safe, because it was well lit, it wasn't in the centre of town, and there were plenty of people around. So yeah, to meet people, confidence, the venue, yeah, the handshakes. Who has said venue?
That was me.
What is it about a venue for you? Is it Teresa?
Yes, that's right. I think that it's a good idea to have a venue where you can find the room easily. You've got accessibility with lifts if needed.
Yeah.
You feel comfortable within the room. That there's a big room that you feel that you just feel comfortable within the room, within the venue.
Yeah, and safe. Yeah, fair point. Good, thank you. Relax in front of a group. Who's laying claim to that idea?
Hi, that was me.
Hello.
Hi.
I can't. Your name's not appeared on my screen, so.
Sorry, my name is Anya.
Anya, what do you mean by? I think it maybe ties into what Teresa's just said, but what did you mean by that?
Well, I mean that I had a lot of experience speaking in public. I was a teacher, but I never really felt comfortable doing it. Mm-hmm. So I thought, and when I did speak in public, I sounded like a teacher. So I wanted to be able to relax and get make my points and be articulate in front of a group and bring the group with me as opposed to trying to do something necessarily.
All right, thank you. Thanks for that. And I'm interested in handshakes. Whose suggestion was handshakes?
That was mine, Danny.
Oh, Elizabeth, what about that made you feel comfortable? Or...
I think it's part of the warmth of the welcome.
Right.
Because when I sort of sneaked in at the back, hoping no one would see me, a bit silly, but you know, as if I could hide. And one person came and shook my hands, and he introduced me to somebody else, and it just sort of cascaded. And there was something very nice and reassuring about, you know, it's almost like a small connection with everybody in the club. Yeah. And that's what I really like that. Really appreciated that. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you. Right. So my point here is that we've only got about 14 people on the course on tonight, but everybody's experience of joining Toastmasters gets shared, and we've there got a load of ideas that people can look at and say, well, how are we fun? What about our venue? Is it welcoming? You know, is it signposted? If it's in a let's say a community centre, is it signposted correctly to where you've got to go? Is it accessible? How do we greet people? What sort of feedback do we give people? And you know, and things like the handshake. So in a matter of 5 minutes, people have come up with a group of suggestions that might help you move forward. So my first point in how do we know, what I would do if I were you in the clubs is basically what we've just done. Do a little sharing session, brainstorming session, tell your stories, ask guests. You know, we do moments of truth. We, at Leicester, we've got some little cards that ask for feedback and how people found us and so on. That might help. So my first suggestion, and it's not rocket science, you know, we're not getting to the moon with this one. Find out what you do well. If everybody thinks you're friendly, build on it. How can we improve that? How are we friendly and how can we do it better? And if somebody says, well, I perhaps would have liked a little bit more information about what Toastmasters is, maybe a leaflet or even a video these days, videos are becoming more and more popular. Maybe when somebody contacts you for the first time, in your reply saying, brilliant that you've reached out to us, we meet so-and-so, and here's a little video of the sorts of things that happen at our meeting. Now, those of people who know me know how bad at technology I really am. But I've actually managed to make, I came on a training, I went to, what was it, Division B, sorry. They had a COT last year and they had somebody talking about how to use your mobile phone to make videos. And it's relatively simple. I won't say it's easy because I never say anything with technology is easy. But you could just do that. You could have somebody just making a little bit of a video about your club and then send it to people. So that, I think the first stage on recruiting members is to actually find out what it is that you're doing well, because every club, the majority of clubs are taking on new members. So something is going right. And you need to find out what that is, ask the people who come, you know, email them afterwards, what specifically was it, and then do more of what you're doing well and look at what else you might do. So that would be the sort of first point I would have. Now, I want to tell you another story because I like stories and I like telling stories. This happened at a sister club to ours in the East Midlands in England, and I believe the person who told me because he's a very serious person. They had somebody a couple of years ago who was so frightened to speak in front of the public that he said he was going to come to the meeting, but he drove up to the meeting and he parked his car and he stayed in his car and he wouldn't come out. And then he drove back home. And then a fortnight later when they had the meeting, same thing, he got in his car, determined this time to go in. Again, parked his car and he saw all the other people and the signs where the meeting was, but he was so frozen solid to it, his car seat, that he wouldn't, and he left. Now, the guy who was running the meeting, the president, emailed him and you know, we were expecting you. And he said, I just cannot get out of the car. So anyway, he said, well, come next time. And they did. And I mean, they didn't force him out of his car. I mean, there was no force at all with this. But they managed to persuade him just to come into the meeting and sit at the back, and he didn't have to say anything and he did actually become a member. So sometimes we don't always know the people we don't get. We only get the guests and we deal with the guests. But what about that chap? If the president actually hadn't emailed him and said, you know, what's going on? It may be that he would never have been a Toastmaster and never benefited from what Toastmasters has to offer. So my next question, and this is where you're going to need Menti again. I'm sorry about this making you work, but it's all part of the fun. So hopefully you're on the same screen. Now you should see that as a question. And I'm interested to see where people think the actual converting guests to members starts. Is it when they contact Find a Club on the TI's website? Is it on when they land on our website through to when they've been to a couple of meetings? So I'll give you 30 seconds. It just gives you an opportunity on your, you should have that question on your phone, on your phones or your iPads. If you could just start voting now. Where do you think we start converting guests?
Sorry, Danny, it says voting is closed on mine.
Oh, sorry about that.
Same with mine, yeah.
Just 1 minute. Oh, does it still say the same?
Sorry, yeah.
All right.
Just been able to vote.
I think this was going too well.
It's worked now.
Is it?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Is it working for everybody? I told you the curse of okay. I'm sorry about that. That was my first. Can you see me back now? Screenshot. Sorry, I'm really sorry about that. Let's have an old-fashioned vote, okay? If you want to put your hand up, or you want to use the reactions button at the bottom, who thinks, see you, Matty, hope everything's all right. Who thinks that we only start converting people to members, guests to members at the meeting? Good. Who thinks it's after the meeting? Brilliant. Up after the meeting, Ken? And Martin, Teresa, Maura. Okay. Who thinks it's before they ever reach the meeting? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, I think before the meeting just wins out on that one. So what I want us to think about is, when do we start creating members? Is it just at the meeting? Because in the story I've just told about the really nervous guy, he never actually made it to the meeting until somebody actually found out and took him in. So what I want us to do now, hopefully you can see that PowerPoint. So my first point was, I think that we've got a lot of good ideas in our clubs to begin with. We just need to get together and start sharing them. My second point is that I think making guests into members is a process that starts before the meeting. So we've got the extremely nervous person who wants to improve her speaking skills, but is a little bit scared. She's never spoken in front of a group since she was at school, and that didn't go terribly well. So but for a job, she's got, if she wants to get on in a job, she's got to be able to stand up with confidence in front of a group of people. So we get the potential guest, and she's emailed us, okay? Then we get the meeting and what goes on at the meeting, and we've all thought about that and talked about that. And then happily on the right, well, on my right, we've got the new member who's so excited about becoming a Toastmaster that she's almost bursting with excitement. So what I want to do now, and I was going to go out into breakout groups, but how many of us are there? 13.
4 each room.
4 in each group. Would people be happy with that? Okay, if we go 4 in each group. What I want you to do is quite straightforward. The name of your group will be there. So before, during, and after. So some of you will be looking at what can you do as a club before the meeting starts. So the first email you receive, is it what's on your website? Is it your Facebook? All those sorts of things that people do. Is it putting stories in newspapers? Is that where the process starts? And so that group, I want you to think about what you can do before the person actually comes to the meeting. The second group, which is during the meeting, what can you do when the guest is at the meeting to help them decide to become a member? And then after that group, what sorts of things can you do once the meeting's over? What do? Do you just stop it there and then hope they come back to the next meeting? What sorts of things can you do to encourage them to come back? And you can be creative on all these, use your creativity, and just choose one person from each group. Now, I do remember when I did the training last time that sometimes people spend a lot of time deciding who's going to be the spokesperson. So if we have the person with the birthday that's as close to Christmas, who's got the closest birthday to Christmas. So if your birthday is on the 25th of December, you're the spokesperson, okay, probably. Does that make sense? We'll have 10 minutes. We'll send a message at 2 minutes, Sultan, just a 2-minute warning. And then if we could have people feeding back what they have found in their groups. Does that make sense? Your group name, you'd be able to see the group name, won't they, Sultan?
Group names before, during, and after, and
Yeah.
we assign them automatically.
Yeah.
They don't need to do anything. They should, as soon as I.
Well, they will know which group they're in.
Yes.
That's okay.
Yes.
So if everybody's happy with that, remember the persons whose birthday's nearest to Christmas, and let's not debate it. Let's just have a straightforward, who's the closest? They're going to be the spokesperson, okay? And so before, during, and after, okay?
Okay. 4 p.m.
Thank you, Sultan.
I found myself back here, Sultan.
Can't you join? Martin, you are after. The rooms are open. Can you?
Hang on.
See you back from cyberspace, Martin. Sorry, we're back recording. I'm going to share the whiteboard and hopefully write your ideas down. I said hopefully.
Uh-oh,
No. Oh,
hang on.
where's everything gone?
Demi, do you want to sit all right randomly, or do you want to do it by group?
If you can, well, as we go through it, I was just going to write it out.
Oh, I see you were going to do it. That's excellent.
Yeah.
That's
Right, okay.
There we are, testing. So yeah, I'll just briefly got the ideas down. So if we could be awkward and start off with the after.
oh,
We'll be illogical, and whoever the spokesperson for the after, is that you, Ken?
No, I'm
you were
before.
before.
I'm after.
Who's I'm
Jeff,
after?
Jeff.
It's Jeff.
Hi, Jeff.
Hi,
Go on then. Any ideas?
Unfortunately, I don't know how creative they are because they all just seem to be things that we're already doing. We're a bit unimaginative. But we asked at the end of the meeting, we were asking members, a sort of like part of like the president's close or however you do it, asking the guests what they thought of the meeting, but also then sitting them down with maybe the VPM or the president, whoever happens to be available that day, sitting them down with it or taking them into a breakout room if you're still doing them online. And just talking to them, seeing if they get any questions, they're unsure of anything, finding out what it is they're after from the club. So you just have that additional 5 minutes with them at the end of the meeting.
Do you do anything once the meeting's finished?
Well, that's what we said, do this after the meeting's finished.
Right, and would you follow up?
Yeah, we've said send them an email afterwards to follow up, again, to capture their thoughts, whether they enjoyed themselves, invite them to the next meeting. We've suggested putting the dates of the next 4 or 5 meetings in. You can even send an Outlook calendar request because sometimes it pops up on your phone, even if you don't add it, and it might act as a reminder.
What's that?
You know, if you send like an Outlook calendar invite, a lot of phones now will pick up that you sent an invite, and even if you don't accept it, will still pop up and say, "Did you know there's this meeting in half an hour?" Not all phones do it, but mine does it. Or anything that will let you send a meeting invite. Another thing that we thought of, which isn't something I do, but I'm going to start doing now. I've thought of it because at the end of every meeting, I do a write-up on LinkedIn and Facebook and things. But what I might do is actually call out the guests and just say, something like, thanks to guests, Bob, Jane, Sue, who came tonight. It helps give them that bit of recognition, but it also links back to encouraging people. If someone's reading the post and thinks, oh, I won't be the only guest, because I can see in every single meeting there's 3 guests, 4 guests, 5 guests. So it sort of links them back to whoever's doing the before. Another one, if you do anything social afterwards, like Disney speakers, it's not unusual that we go to the pub afterwards, making sure we mention it so that all the guests know that they're invited to come along and talk to us about it. Rather than what we normally do at the end is right, it's like, right, who's going to the pub after we've tidied all the chairs away? At which point the guests have usually left. Also, make sure they've got a phone number and a way of contacting Div. So when they get home and think, oh, I never asked that, they've got an easy way to get back in touch with us, a named contact, and they can just say, can I ask that question? I think that was everything. Yeah, one that was it Matthew mentioned? Martin, I'm sorry, I'm losing names now. Is make sure at the end of it we at least talk to them and ask them if they want to join. Is that quite often people go away thinking, oh, no one's ever asked me if I want to join. So obviously we're trying, it's a delicate balance between asking someone and doing a hard sell, but just saying, giving them the option, if you want to join now, we can do that, but you're welcome to go away and think about it.
I think that's a very good point, because there are some people, and we've done this at Leicester, where when the president's concluding the meeting, he'll ask the guests to stand and how they felt the meeting went, and then, oh, are you going to join us? Now, I know some clubs stand back from that because it's a difficult thing for anybody who's come to a meeting to actually say, well, no, I'm not going to join you. So I agree with you. It's a difficult line. Does the president just ask them to stand up and say, well, how did you find the meeting? Hopefully we'll see you again next week or something like that. Yeah,
it's a hard one, It's trying to find a way of phrasing it. So you encourage them, if they're sort of thinking, yes, I want to join, they know they can do that right now, but you're not hard selling and making them feel they've got to join when perhaps they didn't want to.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Now, during the meeting, who's the spokesperson for that? Come on, don't be shy. Who's the spokesperson for who had the birthday nearest to Christmas during the meeting session?
So that was room 2. That was room 2, wasn't it, Danny? Room 2.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah. So who was in room 2? We were in room 1.
Elizabeth, Pimberry, Ken, and Mara is in the jury, room 2. Elizabeth, I moved you that group, so you were there. Wherever you are, that was the jury one.
Sorry. So did you say we were in room 2?
Jury was room 2. Finbar, Ken, and Mara.
Oh my goodness. In that case, I have to put my hand up and make a confession. I said to them, we are in room 1. So it was my mistake. So we analyze room 1 rather than room 2. But if you want, we can ad-lib what should happen during the meeting. Do you want us to do that? Because it was my fault. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
No, it's okay.
And we did such a thorough analysis of number 1. Okay.
Go on. So this is before the meeting.
This is, yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Danny. Had some very good contributions from everyone in the group. Everyone was very helpful and obviously pulling on quite a lot of experience. What we've suggested that there's quite a mixture of things. There's the good old-fashioned way and there's the tech way. Word of mouth is quite a good one. Talking to your friends, talking to your workmates. That's one way of getting things around. Local radio. If you've got contacts there, local radio. Same with local papers. You're around the corner newspaper. Bringing a guest along, persuading somebody that, come along for a couple of hours, see what you think, and so on and so on. And also extending that through to Meetup, Eventbrite, and if you're up to it, TikTok. People can do that sort of thing. And then you've also got websites, once on Facebook or whatever you've got in your part of the world, to include pictures, maybe even a short, snappy video of the last meeting. Newspaper, just go around the town and pop them in the back of magazines, leave them in the dentist, the doctors, where people congregate and move on through. So we're mixing up, really, using what people did 10, 15 years ago with what people are capable of doing it now. But of course, you need to have a good PR person for that, PR for VPM. Somebody who is very, very
That's an important point, Ken, as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you have,
it's not just a VPM.
Yes.
Membership.
Yeah. You're blending two jobs there.
Yeah.
VP membership and VP TikTok or whatever you want to call it. VP PR. So there's a reframing of the tasks in there. But if you put those two together, those two jobs together, you can pretty well cover most things in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
How do you approach your own neighborhood? What's the best way of getting down? Our VPM actually phones people up. And gets a pretty good strike record out of that. Then it moves on to how do we keep them and so on and so on. But that seems to have worked pretty well.
Yeah, brilliant. I realise the time's moving on, but I think you raised an important point in that it depends on your club and where it is.
Yeah.
And no one size fits all. So what might work in Chester might not work in the North Highlands.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you. If we didn't have a group during, is that what we're saying, Elizabeth?
Sorry, I was reading a note. Sorry, remind me. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, if you want to throw some ideas in, yeah.
So this is what happens in the actual session.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I think number one, you should have a meter and greeter, whether it's online or in person. Someone with this. In fact, you should have a culture in your club where everyone is a meter or greeter. But certainly the sergeant at arms and the VPM, you should make sure you have a buddy. So when you've got a guest, one of the experienced members sit with them and help them to understand the agenda. You should, during the meeting, certainly we get our people to stand up and have a round of applause, and we tell them that later on we'll seek their opinion. So we want to do that. We also actually, in our club, we have a guest pack. So when a guest comes to us, we give them either digital guest pack or a manual guest pack, and that varies what's in it. And then the one thing in our club that's worked really well, we always phone them within 24 hours. When they come to us, in addition to the email and all the rest of it, they get a phone call within 24 hours. And then they get another phone call to invite them back. And any questions they have, we invite them to ask questions and so on. And I think during the coffee break, tea break, when it's in person as it is at the moment, that's when we sort of get talking to them to understand, what do they want from Toastmasters? How do they hear about Toastmasters? So we try to really try to understand what it is they want from Toastmasters. I'm going to pause and let other people have a say of what they do during the meeting. That's just one of my clubs.
We provide cake at halftime.
Wow, that's a good one.
We do cake and biscuits.
I don't know how much difference it makes, but I think everyone likes it.
Yeah, I did your area visit, Ken, and it was the highlight of the evening for me.
Well, I should pass that on, Jeff. Yeah. It wasn't a one-off because you were coming along either. We do it every week, and we finish up the plate. But I think there's something about a little bit of social oiling that goes down quite well. Whatever you can do with that one.
Yeah.
Danny, the other group that did before, do they have anything different that they can add to your list?
Hi, everybody. I think there were just a few extra things that maybe we had mentioned. TJ seems to be a very active before engager. They have a website, Meetup, Twitter, and LinkedIn where they engage with people. And I think everybody in our clubs invites people that they know of who might be interested to come along. And, you know, some of us have systems where if a guest has shown interest in coming along, that they'll get a phone call from somebody in the club and they can ask questions, and they can be told something about the club so they know more or less what to expect. And in some cases you might phone somebody. My Inverness club used to actually have some buddies prepared in advance. So you'd phone someone in the club and say, look, do you mind greeting the person when they arrive? I don't know, TJ and Mary, if you have anything to add to that.
No, certainly in our club, that's what we do, particularly as we're online. We'd have someone specifically assigned, we'd put them in a room and have someone greeting them. Now that we're doing face-to-face, we definitely have, you know, whoever, making sure they greet them when they come into the meetings.
Yeah, that's a good one for online clubs, to actually get people into a breakout group. Right, hopefully that will save. I'll now close it because I'm afraid we are out of time almost. I'm sorry about the voting not going as it should have done, but I'm learning all the time. The only thing I would add is that I think that within your club, you've probably got most of the answers, because as we said, every club is different. You know what works in your area, and I would strongly advise that at your next committee meeting, get a time on the agenda just to brainstorm what you think you're doing well, what your experience was, ask your members, do a survey, whatever, moments of truth, and get that there. And what you do well, as I say, do more of. What perhaps is not so good, see how you can work it. And I would honestly advise you that there is so much help available. You are a member of an area, your club is an area, it's got an area director, the clubs can share information, there's divisions, district, there's a Facebook page, the website. And what I'm going to do next week is put up on the website some checklists based on what we've done tonight and perhaps other things that I've found out, of just a simple checklist for you to go through to say, do we do this? I like the idea of phoning people. And I also like the idea of a breakout room if you're an online club. I think that's so important because people can just jump on a call and then feel so totally lost. So I've gone over time. I'll stay if there are any questions, but thank you so much for listening, and thank you so much for bearing with me through the trials and tribulations of Menti.